In today's guide, I'm giving you all of the skills, background, and traits to create your own Djin Djarin, or the Mandalorian. Now, this could work for any Mandalorian type build, with maybe some minor tweaks. So maybe Boba Fett, for example. Starfield and games like Skyrim are amazing because they allow us to roleplay as just about anything. And this isn't a min-max guide, but rather we're picking the skills, traits, and background that make sense for role-playing as a specific character. Emphasis on role-playing. Oh, and you can check this build with the links below to nukesdragons.com. So today, we're putting together the Mandalorian. First, there's that awesome armor. There aren't armor skills specifically in Starfield, so we're going with things that increase health and make you more tanky. Mando's also a great shot with a laser pistol and rifle, but maybe most importantly, he's a bounty hunter, and the quality of his ship is extremely important. So the bulk of our upgrades will go there. These details will help determine what we choose. Also, there's no absolute right or wrong with these types of builds. If you'd like to make changes or suggest something that I didn't pick, then please kindly comment and share your ideas. All right, so let's get started with the background. There's a bunch of different things to choose from, but obviously Bounty Hunter is the one that makes the most sense. This automatically gives us a start with piloting, targeting control systems, and boost pack training, which sounds perfect for a Mandalorian build. So you might also notice that the level here is at 114. I'm not worried about the max level on this because with Starfield, you can level up as much as you want. I'm just focused on picking the right traits and skills and background that makes sense. So let's go through this. Let's start with tech because that's all the ship stuff. And this is probably the most important part to playing a bounty hunter Mandalorian type build. So boost pack training, of course, having the thruster pack on your back and be able to fly around makes a lot of sense. And by the way, all of these are maxed out. Piloting, that makes sense. Then there's targeting control systems. Time to lock onto enemy ships is reduced by 60%, deals 20% increased system damage, deals 20% increased system damage in targeting mode. Then on the next level, we've got energy weapon systems, better for shooting stuff, engine systems, better for flying around, and shield systems, better for staying alive. This next tier, we have a ton of options because all of these make a lot of sense. Missile weapons, particle beams, all of that is useful. Starship design, starship engineering, all of these totally make sense for a Mandalorian build. The only one I had questions about was robotics because Mando hates robots, but this allows you to like turn the robots against each other. That's not really a Mando thing, so I'm not going with that. Down here at the top, or at the very bottom, I guess, we have boost assault training, which allows you to hover around in your boost pack and slow down time, which is pretty cool. These other ones could be used, but I didn't select them specifically, although you could. Let's go over to combat because that's maybe the next most important thing. We have lasers and pistol certification, so both of these make a lot of sense. You could pick dueling if you want to go like dark saber kind of thing, but I didn't choose that on this one. Incapacitation, so EM weapons have 15% chance to do 300 EM damage. Incapacitating enemies is a good thing to do if you want to bring them in as a bounty hunter, so that makes sense. Rifle certification makes sense as well. He's good with both pistols and rifles. Now, you could choose some of these other things too. You might think, oh, well, he uses explosives, so let's go demolition. Let's go particle beams. That could make sense. Ballistics weapons maybe are useful from time to time as a bounty hunter, but these are the ones that I think match the closest to who the Mandalorian actually is. Down here, we have marksmanship, which increases critical hits with non-automatic ranged weapons with a scope. So that totally makes sense for him because he's got that really cool rifle thing he uses, and sniper certification, which makes sense as well. You could go with rapid reload. That could make sense. Targeting also could make sense, but these are the ones that I think are the most important. Then there's crippling and sharpshooting. Again, crippling a target in order to bring them in makes a lot of sense. And then sharpshooting also. Ranged critical hit kills increase your crit hit chance with all ranged weapons by 25% for 20 seconds. So pretty formidable with all of those combat skills. Now, some of these other parts are a little bit less important. So let's go to social. I have commerce, buying and selling things makes you a little bit more money. Isolation, you do more damage when you're by yourself, which makes sense for Mando, other than he's got Grogu by his side. But we don't have a Grogu, at least not yet. It hasn't been modded in as far as I know. So these are the only two I went with social. You can kind of look around these. If you feel like maybe going deception or diplomacy might make a little bit more sense for negotiating contracts, you can do that. Negotiation is right here. But I think these are probably the two that I would go with. And then we have science. So astrodynamics, being able to jump and travel further, makes sense for bounty hunting. Spacesuit design, construction of spacesuit helmet and pack mods occasionally doesn't cost resources. This allows you to build out basically your gear, because he's got really cool gear. Weapon engineering, increasing your weapons and the quality of your weapons. That all makes sense too for this build. But that's all I've got for science. And then we have physical. This is basically a replacement for not having skills that are specific to armor, because that doesn't really work the same way in Starfield. So instead, we're increasing health and regeneration physical stuff. So we're going with wellness, increase your maximum health by 40%. Then down here we have energy weapon dissipation, 25% chance to reflect energy damage back to an attacker when your health is below 50%. You know how his armor kind of reflects blaster shots on occasion? It seems to do that. That's what this does here. Then martial arts reflect 50% damage back when blocking a melee or unarmed attack. Same kind of thing. Feels like you've got armor that's actually doing something. And then in order to top this off, at the bottom here, we have rejuvenation. Now, this is like a health regen thing, so you may not want to choose this because he's not the Wolverine. He's not healing. But his armor's so good that it makes him really hard to take down. And this just increases your tankiness. So that's why I'm going with that. Then we have the traits. Let's talk about the traits. I went with introvert because he prefers to be alone. I also went with, let's jump to this other one, spaced over here, which means that your body has been acclimated to space. Health and oxygen are increased in space, but decreased when on the surface. He spends a lot of time in space. He travels a lot, so that makes sense. And then Freestar Collective Settler. If he's going to be somebody who lives in any part of the Starfield universe, then it's probably out in the outer ranges of the system where maybe some of the Freestar stuff is. But this is also the Western space cowboy thing, and being a bounty hunter fits into that as well. So that's it for my build. If you have any suggestions or changes that you would make to this, then please kindly comment. And if you enjoyed this build and you want some other options, check out my Han Solo build right here. This is also the place for the Starfield Lorecast podcast, so make sure to subscribe and come back to join us in the future. Stay safe in that galaxy. See you later.